You know, he felt like it was actually a harder deck. And a lot of people in China criticized Tiddler for not being able to play more of a defensive control style, and he did. So it's pretty funny when you go into a tournament and you pick something not because you think it's optimal or it's the best deck, but to prove a point.
Look at those mulligans. I think this worked.
Yeah. Big Game Hunter was kept, Monk.
And you know what? Lovely Choke is going to be feeling really bad when this Leopard Gnome comes out. Leopard Gnome is kind of the signal that, hey, I'm playing an aggressive deck.
Yeah. Oh, and scratching the arm, feeling a little nervous.
Actually, one of the reasons that Tiddler played Zoo in the beginning of his career was because Curse of Naxxramas just came out, and cards like Haunted Creeper and Ruby Egg came out at the same time. So at that time, when he was playing his first tournament, Zoo was just really strong.
Absolutely. We haven't really seen Zoo in the tournament other than one other game, right?
Yes, one of the European players was playing Zoo.
Okay. Good, good. You know, I'm sort of digging the fact that you can change deck lists between rounds. It really throws your opponents off. They have to keep second guessing. It gives you ability to showcase lots of different types of decks. Not to mention, you always can just pick the same deck and then, you know, try and make it the story of the tournament if you're winning a lot with like the Demon Handlock, for example. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
I'm digging it. We used to do that back in the day too for like DreamHack and some other things too. ESGN as well. That's right. Where the teams would see each other's deck lists because the patch was so new that the teams would see each other's deck list and they really liked one of them, so they'd all copy that from each other.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You know, they were like, "Oh, we really like your Druid deck," and you're like, "Oh yeah, we really like your Mage deck," and then you just happen to copy both.
Yeah, I remember in the first ESGN broadcast, a lot of the Doghouse players copied the Druid deck
from Strifecrow.
Exactly, and then on the second,
you guys copied the Handlock? Is that what it was?
I don't think we copied too much.
Or maybe the Mage, the Freeze Mage.
The second time, Liquid Value copied the Shaman from Doghouse.
Oh,
and,
that's right.
And the Hunter. Meanwhile, Doghouse copied the Paladin, the Giant's Paladin from Kayuki.
He is the Monk Cyclopedia.
Oh, I was there at those events.
Yeah, I know.
In a far-off land, in a far-off time, I once played Hearthstone.
Yeah, and then he retired to manage Savits.
Good life.
Yeah. Well, the Defender of Argus is pretty reasonable. Somewhat weak to a Consecration, but at least it has one minion surviving. The most important thing with a classic deck like Zoo is to maintain something on the board. So that way, you know, it'll take like everything from Paladin to clear it. Even if you have the weakness to quality Consecration, if you have that egg, for example, it still gives you a fighting chance.
Yeah. What I really like about the Zoo pick now is that a lot of players are kind of teching against Mech Mage, for example.
Whoa. Well, that's tech against Rogue and other classes like it, and Hunter. I mean, wasn't that another argument against Zoo for a while, that Hunter just outclassed Zoo in terms of everything, like the way it can control the board, the way it can do damage?
Well, yeah, that was before Undertaker was nerfed, and I felt like even though Zoo also used Undertaker, it was just so much more effective in Hunter because they had more death rattles, and as a Zoo player, you typically mulligan for like also Flame Imp and Voidwalker
deal
sometimes.
Damage to yourself.
Yeah, but those are not death rattle creatures. So typically in Hunter, you just mulligan for the Undertaker. So it's more common for you to have an insane Undertaker in the Hunter deck. Also, as I was saying before, a lot of players are trying to tech against aggro with things such as Kazan Mystic. Like, Mech Mage is the predominant aggro deck in the metagame right now, and so is Face Hunter. And what those two decks have in common is they both run secrets. So when players try to beat those aggressive decks, they throw in Kazan Mystic in there instead of things like Mind Control Tech or like more AoE. So this is a space where Zoo can just become really good.
Well, this is a pretty nasty draw, getting Doomguard. I mean, as much as the what's it called? The Acidic Swamp Ooze is great tech against the Paladin. I mean, do you really want to wait for a weapon to come out if it ever comes out versus getting the Doomguard out now and pressuring for 5 damage? I don't think so.
Yeah, I think you're pretty happy here. Just slamming Doomguard.
Even playing around the idea of Mind Control Tech. And Lovely Chook is not digging it. Shaking his head, realizing that he might be dead.
Yeah, just what a great switch up from TiddlerCelestial.
He's got a weapon here, right? And would you toss out a 1-1? Does it even matter? I guess that you can challenge a 2-1. Okay.
I mean, maybe you could have considered even equality in that turn.
Oh, that's game. Oh no, he doesn't have enough mana for both. Okay, so I guess you just implosion then. Smack your face. 4 imps. I guess it really doesn't matter. 2.
Yeah.
Even 1 imp is still like the power of 4 here.
So pretty much if
Consecration or bust.
Yeah, if Lovichu can't heal this turn, then he's pretty much dead because Tiddler will definitely be able to draw into a minion. I guess he can throw stuff on the board, but I don't know. I don't really see anything, and Lovichu has to give up. He's like, yeah, well played. You kind of out-mind gamed me. Placed with Tempo Mage, because Echo Mage and Tempo Mage, they kind of seem fairly similar, but I don't know. Maybe the metagame has just become so tempo-focused that Echo Mage has become too slow, as you mentioned.
Well, we have Mech Mage, and we have Mech Mage with Counterspell. So
wow,
it's TiddlerCelestial borrowing a leaf from Lothar. Of all people to copy, you pick Lothar, Tiddler. All right, well, Godspeed.
Yep.
Oh, I think man, great sequence of draws here.
Yeah. I think we all kind of want to be a bit like Lothar in some way.
Oh, I do. I flex my muscles every morning and realize that I have a long way to go. You know what's annoying, too, is that he doesn't try. God, that pisses me off so much. The fact that Lothar doesn't try to look good, but he looks so damn good.
Yeah, we're...
Yeah.
Oh,
as you can tell, I am very jelly.
Yeah, just really feeling that fire in Twitch chat right now.
Lovely Chook needs to get like the True Silver Champion. That'll be like the way he can stabilize his board. Very awkward turn 3, I guess.
I guess he would have liked an Aldor or Muster here, but the real story is that you pretty much need to curve out really well in order to deal with a Mech Mage. You need a really good 2-play and you need a really good 3-play, and of course the Zombie Chow is just a great added bonus. Usually, if you miss all your plays, then you just fall too far behind in tempo. Oh,
dang, second Mech Warper.
That's a good draw.
Wow.
Well, free Snow Chugger. 2 mana.
Yeah. Cash in.
Oh man.
Guess you play less. Yeah.
Well, you know what? Is this game just over? Because Tiddler has a counterspell to follow up, which will kind of negate. Will negate any concentrations. Exactly.
Maybe Muster for Battle helps him fight back on the board a little bit if he can pair that with
Knife
Juggler.
Yeah.
But he's still a turn away. How funny is that? Well, no weapon.
Oh.
Wow. Tiddler can't help but crack a smile.
That was the exact card.
I mean, this is just what Mech Mage does. And to be fair, for anybody tuning in just now, we've seen Mech Mage fail a lot today. Like, just straight up, like, bad draws, getting punished a lot, people playing around it very well.
Yeah, I see entry fee.
And this is the first time that we're seeing, like, Mech Mage just stomp.
Exactly. I see entry fee just, like, looking at this game, like, hey, why can't I draw like that? Tiddler, why do you have to have all the luck?
I mean, he's dead. He can play the heal bot, but that only is a band-aid for the gaping wound in his side that's been paled by a spear with poison tip. And ants.
And ants. You just have to add the ants, don't you?
I just put my 2 greatest fears in 1.
Well, that completely lucks out the game. Again, no equality, no consecration. And even if you had the combo, the game would still be over because one of those would be counterspelled. So Tiddler, he says he likes Mech Mage so much that he's going to bring a second Mech Mage, which was his due. Just 2 aggressive decks today, and it's just a... I guess it's not a complete contrast of what he brought the last time because he did, of course, bring a very, very aggressive mage.
Yeah, I mean, Can he even do anything here? Not really, though. I guess he can... Oh, I forgot the counter spell. That's top tier quality. It's completely shut out and stomped. That's pretty much what happened here. And game number 2 is over. TiddlerCelestial is going to 3-0 his opponent. What's the remaining deck? It's Warlock, right?
Oh, it's his Paladin.
Oh, that's right. He started off with Warlock. So yeah, his Paladin.
So again, it's the same situation. One player is left with Paladin, and he has to 3-0. Actually, the exact same decks. Entry Fee had Druid, Paladin, Mage, and Lovely Chook also has Druid, Paladin, Mage. So we're in the exact situation as we were in the last series. And as you saw, Paladin did some work, and eventually Sleepy Shaman went 3-0. Paladin is just a deck that's really coming back into the metagame.
Well, it's cool because people were resigned to the fact they're like, well, Hunter just somehow keeps finding a way back to the top and stays at the top. But it's cool that it's still up there in relevance. I mean, today we have 3 Hunters, which is decent representation across 8 players, but it's not overpowering or overwhelming rather in terms of his representation. In fact, Mage and Druid and Paladin all have outnumbered Hunter. And then, you know, even Mage, for example, we've seen different kinds of mages, mech mages, tempo mages, even freeze mages being played. And unfortunately for Entry Fee, it was just a little bit too little too late when he drew cards like Swipe.
Oh, this looks to be just an excellent hand from the Druid, though. I don't see him losing this. I mean, you have Keeper on turn 3 against your opponent's Knife Juggler. That's bound to come. That Tyrion, though.
Do you need that second Wild Growth?
I don't think you want it at all. I don't think you ever want 2 Wild Growths, to be honest, in your opening hand. It's a card that you always want to draw 1 of, but never 2 of. And it's also the reason that in the beginning of... Actually, the first person to use Wild Growth in a very competitive deck, or one of the first people, was Admirable. And when he introduced Wild Growth, he actually only used 1 in his deck just to... For 1, sometimes you just don't want Wild Growth against decks like Zoo. And 2, you never want to draw the second one, basically.
The Monk Cyclopedia. Innervate as well. I mean, he was thinking about double Wild Growthing so he can hit his Druid the Claw on curve.
Yeah.
But, I mean, why wait till tomorrow for what you can do today, Monk?
That being said, the Keeper is just so tempting.
And then you Wild Growth next turn?
Or you can... He might be even considering innervating at the Keeper.
Innervate Keeper, huh? And then... Yeah, so you Wild Growth the following turn?
The issue
it's a little awkward.
The issue with Druid the Claw here is a potential muster for battle can wreck you.
Yeah, that's true. In that case, if you're worried about that, you might as well just Wild Growth and take your time.
Oh, there we go.
It's not too bad. I mean, what's Paladin's gonna rush you down? Is that what you're worried about?
Well,
I mean, it can,
yeah,
but it's
we
not
saw
like,
that in the last game.
It doesn't happen
series,
very
actually.
often. That's
exactly.
the thing.
Basically, Paladin needed the perfect curve. In the last series, we had Sleepy Shaman curve out with with Zombie Chow, Knife Juggler, Muster for Battle, Piloted Shredder.
Well, the thing is, even if he played Muster for Battle, he had the swipe ready. So I think he was prepared for any awful scenarios. The thing is, though, you have a really good point, Monk, that Innervate just gets worse over time. So, you know, he's not going to be making these power plays normally in the early game, which you used Innervate to try and grab an early board lead.
Do you even innervate here? And just get rid of the token? I guess not.
Doesn't feel worth it.
Now does Defender of Argus potentially get some value? I think the safer play is just the
the pilot
shredder. Exactly.
The thing about Argus is that in the past it always had potential value late game because of the Paladin hero power, but amplify that with Muster for Battle, and I think Argus is a pretty good choice. It's actually sad to see it cycled out so often in Paladin, and even classes like Shaman, they cycle out Defender of Argus when it's a very useful card.
Yeah, I think in Paladin though, you could consider something like Coghammer instead of the Defender of Argus. They're fairly similar in their purpose, just giving a taunt and for similar amounts of mana, I guess.
Yeah.
And similar amounts of resilience.
Yeah. Gives you better board control in the immediate turn too. So.
Wow. I think Lovely Chook is definitely regretting his first his first coining into a wild growth play.
Right.
Otherwise, his curve would look so good. Keeper on turn 3 would wipe the board completely. Then his opponent pretty much had nothing to do on his turn 3, so he would pretty much hero power. Then you pretty much respond with either of your 5 drops, and it would just be so great. Versus the position he's in now, I don't know. Everything is just really awkward.
I agree. I don't think swiping that is, or silencing that rather, is a good option. You still want to keep swipe as an option for later on when the Muzzle Battle comes out. Man, normally against a class that doesn't have weapons, you want to slam Harrison down just for the efficiency of it, but it just gets preyed on directly by the Druid of the Claw.
It's true.
All right, Pilot Shredder's something. If it was Ancient of Lore, it'd be the most perfect card you could have drawn. Just because you would have been able to grab the cards. Plus, you might even be able to pick up Wrath or something. Pair that with an Innervate.
I like preserving some of the Druid health here, but Newbie thinks about developing the Keeper of the Grove. Like, if you just swipe in hero power here, you can potentially get a very healthy Druid of the Claw in this turn, but see what comes out.
Not much better than what he just shot down. I mean, I think you want to use... Don't you want to use Innervate sooner rather than later? Like, it's not exactly that strong. Like, next turn, when you have access to 10 mana, but you're going to have 2 spells in the hand. Unless you want to use Savage Roar here, so that way you can get rid of the Puddle Stomper. Even then, I still consider that pretty weak.
Yeah, I don't think you want to use Savage Roar in this situation.
I think the Pilot Shredder makes the most sense here. Swiping. Oh,
whoa.
Right.
I don't know.
I mean, this is assuming he doesn't have True Silver Champion to directly answer you.
Not only does he have 1, there comes the second.
Yeah, that's still an awkward draw too, right? Where like Tiddler prefer to have that drawn in like 2-3 turns. Next turn doesn't really need that True Silver. All right, well, unless we get Ancient of Lore, we're pretty much stuck with what we have now.
Oh man.
This is bad news for Lovely Chook.
This is just generally what happens when you draw 2 Wild Growths in a row.
Right.
And you don't have that Ancient of Lore as well. You just run out of cards. Essentially, this Wild Growth just generally wasn't that useful because with the extra mana that he's getting, he's pretty much having to fit a hero power in each time.
Right.
And now that Lovely Chook has used his Keeper of the Grove, Tyrion will almost certainly come out on turn 8.
Yeah, this is another test, right? Or to see what he's got. Second swipe.
So, is this just a hero power turn?
I think so. No real point in putting out a big game hunter, right?
Okay. He's going aggressive, and I think I like that because his hand quality is so poor, but he does have the Savage Roar, so
he's banking on the fact that his opponent doesn't have any taunt or life gain, and then he could maybe draw into the combo. Tyrion comes down though, and I don't know if Lovely Chook can deal with this. Dude, I think he's just locked out of the game again.
Oh man.
Druid fizzles yet again.
So this Tyrion, it can die this turn, but then you're giving up your win condition in Savage Roar.
Yeah. I mean, you could also use Swipe, but it also softens it up so that Sylvanas can steal something pretty easily. Pretty painful either way. I mean, Tiddler's just sitting pretty. It's the power of the hat, man. Every person who's wore a hat, I feel like, has won.
That's true, actually. Actually, the Chinese players yesterday were kind of, they were making fun of the hats because yesterday, I believe Magic Wind also wore a hat.
Yeah, but he also won.
But he,
You know who made fun of him? The people that didn't win.
That's true.
You know what? They have money and those guys don't.
Yeah, 3,000 euros, in fact.
So
No.
deal with it, Chinese players.
I think, no, they were
Those
making...
hats are swagtatious.
They were making fun of the players because they were all drawing badly with Druid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the joke was that, like, if you wear a
Oh,
hat...
it's game.
Exactly.
We're not paying attention to what's going on. Druid actually used his hero power to hit the Divine Shield off. We're like, whoa.
Wow, 6...
We weren't counting the lethal, but we didn't expect the Druid necessarily to have to commit his damage. And that's it. Game 3, Series 3 is over.
Yeah. I think overall, there were some questionable choices.